Hello and welcome back to the Toffee Blues YouTube channel, your source for all things Everton. My name's Thomas, back with another opposition view today, joined by Ben, a Wolves fan. Sorry, he's going to be talking through. He's going to be giving us a bit of a preview of our game against Wolves. Ben, just first of all, how have you been doing in the lockdown? How's things been with you?
Yeah, not too bad. It's just dragging on a bit now. Football coming back, it helped for the first week. It's go away for the last 6 days, but that's helped. But yeah, not too bad, thanks.
Yeah, good stuff. So obviously, Wolves now kind of 6 points from potential Champions League football. Obviously now, 4 games left. Probably realistic now as Europa League finish. Obviously, United seem to be in very good form, and probably a position that most Everton fans kind of want to find ourselves in next season. You know, in the Europa League spots, definitely challenging the kind of top five. Would you agree now that Europa League is now kind of the realistic finish for Wolves this season, based on how many games are left?
Yeah, for sure. I'd say going into the game against Arsenal last weekend, there was still sort of a bit of hope that you'd catch the likes of Leicester and Chelsea. I always thought United would have too much because I can just see them winning pretty much every game from now to the end of the season. So, you've lost 2 in a week. It's a bit of a kick in the teeth, but like you say, if you'd have offered 6th at the start of the season, I'm fairly sure every Wolves fan would have taken it. And there is still the opportunity to win the Europa League at the end of the season and get ourselves in the Champions League that way. So still plenty to play for. But yeah, like you say, I think now the main targets are hold on to 6th, beat last year's points total, just so there's a bit of progression. So there's still plenty to go out last 4.
Yeah, definitely, I agree. I methink we're all very jealous of kind of how Wolves have kind of come up, done very well in the league. Obviously, Nuno's done a great job. I think it's Nuno Espirito Santo, isn't it?
Yeah.
Obviously, we just kind of mentioned it before. Obviously, the Europa League draws soon, and that's where you might be finishing. Kind of from like a Wolves fan's perspective, obviously, we have no European football. What's your kind of perspective on kind of the whole Europa League in like 2 weeks kind of thing? You know, there's going to be a lot of games quite quickly if you do get through against Olympiacos. Are you now looking maybe for the manager to kind of rotate in the Premier League till the end of the season? Because obviously there is still a chance you might drop out Europa League. I think it's unlikely now with kind of everyone around you kind of not in form at all. Obviously, we were there for kind of a game. Spurs have dropped off as well. Are you kind of looking for more rotation now to maybe give it a go in the Europa League when it comes in like August or something? Or are you kind of looking at the league now saying, let's consolidate Europa League and then maybe just see what else we can get when it comes to August?
Wolves could play 6 games in a week and they wouldn't rotate. Nuno just doesn't
Right.
rotate. He's got about 14 players that he uses. We've got 9 subs on the bench now, and he probably, I'd say, the most he's made is 3. He made 1 on Tuesday night. He's just not. It's not going to happen. So Wolves fans have pretty much come to terms with the fact that there isn't going to be a lot of rotation. There's a 10-day break after the end of the season before that second leg with Olympiacos, and to be honest, Wolves have coped better when it's game on game rather than having a break. That tends to be how we've gone for a lot of the season. We come back from international breaks quite sloppy. When we've not had Europa League, so we've had a full 7-8 days, those games tend to be the ones where we start slower, surprisingly, rather than the ones where we have a 50-hour turnaround. Our best performance of the season was when we beat Man City 38 hours after playing Liverpool at Anfield. So that was probably the most energy we've shown in a game all season. So Wolves are quite a strange side in the fact that they don't particularly seem like they like rest. So I would think he'll flog them hopefully for another 8 games.
Oh yeah, so just kind of as you mentioned there, obviously you say Wolves don't do well, kind of come back from a break, but obviously at the start of the restart, I think you got 3 wins in a row. I think it was beating West Ham, Bournemouth, and Villa. Obviously, quite pivotal to the relegation battle there. Obviously, beating all 3 of them though. But then obviously the last 2 games, losing to Arsenal, losing to Sheffield United, kind of in the last minute there. Is there been quite an obvious decline? Is it a fitness problem? Is it just kind of running out of steam maybe towards the end of the season, kind of maybe looking towards the Europa League? What's kind of gone wrong, do you think, for Wolves in the last 2 games?
It's difficult to say because those 3 teams that we beat at the start are so bad. The 5 teams at the bottom are so bad. We've beat them all twice. We've had no issues, which was an issue we had last season, was beating the teams towards the bottom. We lost twice to Huddersfield, for example. And this season, we've not had that at all. We've cruised past the teams at the bottom. And when you were watching those 3 games, it looked like Wolves were just in second gear, coasting through them, conserving energy. In those 3 games, they probably stepped it into third gear for about 30 minutes combined across the 3 games. And you looked at that point and said, yeah, this is perfect. Like, couldn't fault it really. 3 wins, 3 clean sheets. And then you get to the United game and it's been similar, but against teams that are better. So they've not been able to get away with it. So what looked like conserving energy, maybe just now in hindsight, does look like a little bit, it's just been a little bit slow. The problem with Wolves is everything, the problem with Wolves under Nuno is everything's based on very fine margins. Wolves are never going to smash a team 3-0. It's just not how they play. So against Arsenal, they were well in the game and then concede a pretty fortunate goal just before half-time. Miss a chance straight after half-time. And, if that chance doesn't go in and Traore scores, Wolves, I would back Wolves to win that game, pretty much every day of the week. But that is pretty much every game that Wolves playing, is that 1 or 2 moments will dictate whether they win the game 1-0 or lose the game 1-0, because that's just the way they're set up. So I don't see that changing really in the last 4 games.
Yeah, so kind of not moving away from Wolves, obviously, in the opposition view, but kind of from a Wolves fan perspective, looking at Everton, obviously, we started the restart all right, beating Norwich, getting a very good win against Leicester at home, drawing with Liverpool. We've definitely tailed off in the last 2 games against Spurs and Southampton. Kind of, where do you see kind of Everton being exploited by Wolves now? Do you think, because from my opinion, it's definitely going to be in central midfield. I mean, we've struggled so much. We've got like 3 centre midfielders. They're all kind of lacking energy. Gomez is kind of really struggling from where he was. Davies is poor and Sigurdsson can't really fit into the system. I can personally see us kind of automatically losing the game kind of against, Neves and Moutinho. But from your perspective, where do you see Wolves potentially just winning this game?
Well, yeah, I think you're right to pinpoint the two central midfielders. The issue we've had sort of in the last couple of games, the ball has just been a little bit slow, even through Neves and Moutinho. I'd like to see Neves is at his best when he is a little bit further forward, which will also occupy a few more Everton players. When he sits deep, it can be a little predictable. And aside from that, look, we can talk about intricate passing plays and formations, but at the end of the day, if Traore gets the ball in space, he can beat any fullback in the world. So that essentially won us the first 2 games, just his ability to do that. And if Wolves can stay in games and keep clean sheets, which until the last week, the record Bolliard came back was staggering. It was 7 clean sheets in 8 Premier League games since he came back. If Wolves can stay in games, then I always back Traore against pretty much any fullback in Europe, that he'll get at least one time where he hits the byline, puts a cross in, and it's just dependent on whether we can score. So it's no slight against Everton's fullbacks. I would say the same against pretty much any team in the Premier League. I can't think of too many that have done a real job. Sheffield United did a good job in the week, but at the same time, he still whipped in a couple of crosses that on another day we'll score from. So it sounds really simple, but you give it to our most dangerous player and things can happen.
Yeah, kind of on the other side of that, obviously, we've just spoken about how Wolves can beat Everton. How would you say Everton can beat Wolves here? Are there any kind of major weaknesses? Obviously, most fans that I ask when I ask for kind of our strengths, people normally say Richarlison, Calvert-Lewin, but obviously you said you've been very good defensively for quite a while now. Where do you kind of see Everton's biggest strength, and how would we win this game now?
I really, really rate Richarlison. I think he's a really good player, and he's always done quite well against us as well in the fixtures we've played. And I can say how good we had been defensively. We've looked a lot more shaky in the last 2, and I'm always a little bit concerned with strikers that have got the ability to sort of back in and use their physicality, particularly on Cody, who can get a little bit isolated. If he gets isolated against a striker, it doesn't tend to turn out that well, which doesn't happen often. granted, but when it does, that's certainly a ploy that a lot of teams can use. I mean, talking a few months ago, but Chelsea really sort of pinned Tammy Abraham on Cody, and he scored a hat trick, and he absolutely sort of took him to the cleaners. So the two forward players worry me, I would say, more than anyone else in the Everton side. I've always been a big fan of Sigurdsson, but as you say, he doesn't particularly fit into the system. And I think I was asked the question at the start of the season if I could pick one Everton player to put in the Wolves squad, who would it be? And I think I said Sigurdsson at the time, but my answer would definitely have changed now to Richarlison. I just think he's a class act.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Sigurdsson's obviously he's just massively dropped off. He refuses to kind of not play in kind of the central attack midfield role, kind of the traditional number 10. But obviously we massively struggle in centre midfield. But I think that's actually led to Calvert-Lewin he's had a bit of a drop off form since the restart. You know, he's barely getting any service. Richarlison is, I think, naturally doing better because he can kind of create more chance for himself, where Calvert-Lewin needs better service. And then maybe, lays it off to Richarlison, then he can take on a defender, where Calvert-Lewin's much more, he can bully defenders in the air, but if he's not getting the ball in the air, kind of what's the point? And I think what we kind of had to revert to against Southampton was kind of just bypassing central midfield altogether and kind of playing it. I don't like to say playing it long because we're gone from the days of Sam Allardyce, but kind of just playing it straight to Calvert-Lewin to kind of play Richarlison. And I hope we might employ that tactic again, because obviously, as you said there, Cody obviously sometimes struggles against kind of a big attacker, playing the long balls, and he can be isolated. But to be fair, I think Cody's done very well, and obviously Bolly's a very good centre back as well. And kind of just to round off now, because I do often ask people to make predictions, but I could probably guess where this game's going. Obviously, we haven't been very good in the past couple of games. I mean, obviously Wolves have struggled as well, but not kind of any sort of, I don't know how to describe it, not like tactical deficiencies almost. It's just like, you may be lacking a bit of energy, lacking a bit of, motivation at the moment. But can you see Everton kind of maybe getting anything out of this game? Because I personally can't, with the way we've been playing. Do you think it's going to be quite a simple Wolves win? And then I think this will probably kind of consolidate Europa League football for you if you win this game now. But can you make any predictions potentially about what's going to happen?
I think if you'd have asked me this 7 days ago, I would have said that Wolves will comfortably win. But the last two performances have been pretty worrying in terms of just how many chances they're creating, and it's going to be low scoring, I think, either way. And like I mentioned, pretty much every Wolves game sort of decided on these very split incidents. And if they go Wolves' way, I can see Wolves winning 1-0. But it sounds quite negative. Wolves have been brilliant, but it's difficult to predict for Wolves because everything is so sort of dependent on very sort of concentrated incidents. So if Wolves don't create much, I can see Everton having chances, and if they score, then are Wolves capable of scoring 2 or 3 to get back in a game? I'm not 100% at the moment, so it's going to be tight. I could see it being 0-0 just because that's how most Wolves games have looked at the moment. So I could see it being 0-0. To be honest, it sounds like an absolute fence sit, and it is really. I could see all 3 results just because of how both sides have been playing, really. I think it's difficult to take too much from what either side have shown. They're 2 very tactically astute managers as well, so I think it'd be an interesting game, regardless of what the score is, for those that are interested in sort of the tactical nuances within a game. But yeah, I'd hope that Wolves can win, and as you say, I think if Wolves win, then that's pretty much sewed up Europa League football for next season, and then it is just all about ending the season strongly, getting players in form for that Europa League sort of mini tournament.
Yeah, I agree. And obviously, we like to end off every video with a non-football related question. Favorite film?
My favourite film, probably The Dark Knight, Batman.
All right, okay, yeah, we've never heard that one before. We do sometimes ask whether people like pineapple on pizza, but then they just kind of get sacrificed in the comments. So I'll save you from that one if you don't want to say anything too controversial.
No, I don't like pineapple on pizza.
There you have it. So thank you very much for coming on. Be sure to check out all of Ben's social media in the description. Obviously, I'm hoping for a good Everton result. I can't really see one, but obviously we'll have plenty more videos kind of in preview for this game. But thanks for coming on. That was a really good insight to how Wolves are potentially going to play and how we're going to be overrun by Neves and Moutinho in a few days. So thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.